Hello, my name is Barnetta, and people call me Netta. You can call me either or. And this is my very first YouTube video. Today, what I'm going to make for you is collard greens and cabbage, meatless. No meat whatsoever. For the record, I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. This is just the way that I prefer to make my greens. I use the spices in substitute of the meats. And believe me, if you try this recipe, you won't miss meat at all. The flavors of the spices more than compensate for the meat. So here you see me. I'm cutting my collard greens. What I like to do is to destem my collard greens first. And then I roll them up and then slice them into ribbons. And there you see me taking out the stems. And I'm going to roll it up. And then I'm going to slice it into ribbon size pieces. Some people like to keep the stems in. It's totally up to you. It don't matter. Whatever floats your boat. Everybody's not going to like things the same way. So and I'm using 4 bundles of greens to 1 head of cabbage for this recipe. I have organic greens. Now, a lot of times when you go get organic greens, the bundles aren't all that big. It might be maybe 4 leaves in a bundle. So maybe if you're not going to get organic, I would say 3 bundles to 1 head of cabbage, just depending on how many you're making it for. I'm making it primarily for myself right now, but I'm going to try to eat it throughout the week. So, all right, I think that's my last one. And then, no, I got one more here. Destem, roll up, slice in the ribbons. Ribbons. All right, set it aside. All right, so next I'm going to, I got one more. I thought that was it. One more. This is just one bundle that I'm showing you as a demonstration of how I actually cut up my greens. Anything that I don't use, I just go ahead and discard first before I even clean the greens. Because what's the point of cleaning parts that you're not going to even eat? So, I don't know. I might have said that before, but I'm saying it again. All right, now we're getting ready to cut up the cabbage. The cabbage. I think I had a hard time unwrapping it. It was in one of those little cellophane wrappers. Sometimes those are really hard to unwrap, so it took me a minute to get it unwrapped. Okay, now I got it unwrapped. All right, now we're going to cut up our cabbage. I had to get a bigger knife because cabbage is hard to cut through. So I had to get a bigger knife. And I cut off the little end part first. I don't know if you guys could see. Yep. And I just start slicing into the cabbage. Just cutting it any, way. Not in nice chunks, but not too big of chunks. The heart of it I discard. And next, this is the culture salt that I'm using to clean the greens. Just sprinkle some culture salt and some water, and just throw the greens in there. Let them soak for probably about an hour or so. Let them soak. These greens really weren't all that dirty. I remember, like, when I was young, my mom used to go to the market and get greens, and they would be just like filthy, grimy, dirty. But, nowadays it's like you go to the markets, the greens aren't all that dirty. But, you still wash them, of course. But that's just a demonstration of how I wash my greens with the culture salt. And let them soak. And that's just one bundle of greens I have in there right now, what you're looking at. But behind the scenes, of course, I cut up the rest of the bundles. And here I have my onion here. I'm slicing it. Slicing the onions nice and into little rings. And of course, I'm just going to slice. I'm not really finely dicing them. I'm just kind of just cutting them in all different types of shapes and directions. Some recipes you like to finely dice your onions, but with greens, I really don't like my onions really finely diced. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and dice up some turnip. I'm going to go ahead and remove the skin. And then I like to dice my turnip into little small cubes. And if you haven't already noticed, I'm a lefty. Yeah, people would always bring that to my attention every time I write or do something with my hands. They'll be like, "Oh, you're left-handed." Like you got a disability or something. It was always strange to me when people would say that. They don't do it as much now that I'm an adult, but as a child, I would be like, it would irritate me. But yeah, so when you're left-handed, and I don't know, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for necessarily all left-hand people. But I used to think like certain things would feel like awkward to me, like in my mind. Like if I went up to a single door and I would think in my mind, oh, this should open from left to right instead of right to left. I don't know. Maybe most of y'all can't understand because you're probably right-handed, but I think other left-handed people can relate to what I'm saying, like certain things feeling kind of strange as far as the way you navigate through the world, just a right-hand world. But yeah. Okay, so now that we have our cabbage and greens soaked, we're going to go ahead and pull them from the water and lay them up on the rack. And then once we have them on the rack, we're going to go ahead and drain the water from the sink. And then lay our rack into the sink and spray the cabbage and greens to get off any excess impurities. And then we got our little cabbage and green wreath going on, looking like that kind of reminds me of Christmas. Maybe that needs to be my little side hustle, selling cabbage and green Christmas wreaths, $50 a pop. Okay, now, so here's where everything gets interesting. I'm going to show you guys how to make the pot liquor in just a moment, but I'm just going to go over the ingredients that we're using. We're going to use garlic powder, smoked paprika, and onion powder. We also have some water, about a cup of water there, turnip, onion, and olive oil, minced garlic, crushed red pepper, cumin, ground cumin, and soy sauce. Now, I know a lot of vegans and vegetarians, you guys don't use soy. In lieu of soy, you can use coconut almitos, liquid smoke, or liquid aminos. Any of those you can use in lieu of the soy sauce. So I'm making the pot liquor, and I'm going to start with about a cup of soy sauce. It's about a cup of soy sauce. And to my soy sauce, I'm going to add about a tablespoon, about 1 to 2 tablespoons of ground cumin. Or cumin, whichever you say. Cumin or cumin, tomato, potato. However you say it, however it comes off your lips is the way it's supposed to be said. I'm not a person that likes to critique people on how they say things. You know, however it comes off your lips, as long as I understand, people understand. They may not play like they don't understand, but they understand what you're saying. We also have some smoked paprika. I'm going to add probably about a tablespoon of smoked paprika to start. And then, of course, you're going to always, once you mix all your ingredients together, you know how to taste it and, you know, determine whether or not you need to add more of this or, you know, less of that or whatever. And we got a ground onion powder I just added, garlic powder. Now I'm adding the crushed red pepper. And then we're going to go ahead and stir everything together. Give it a nice stir. Add a little more cumin because I love cumin. And to me, the cumin and the smoked paprika together, it gives the, I don't know, it just gives it a meaty flavor to me. It's even though it's not meat, it satisfies you as if you are eating meat in this recipe. Add a little more smoked paprika. Give it another nice stir. Add a little more cumin. Okay, and there we have our pot liquor. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and blend everything together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to add some olive oil to our pot. And just let it get hot. It doesn't have to be piping hot, but, you know, let the oil get a little hot in the bottom of the pan before you start adding your other ingredients. And then next we're going to go ahead and add our onion. And then also our turnip. And then we're going to go ahead and add our garlic. Of course, you can use fresh garlic. You can use chopped garlic. Any type of garlic really would do. But I'm using minced garlic, so we're going to add about a tablespoon of minced garlic. And we're going to stir everything in the pot. to start the browning process. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I added a little seasoned salt. However, you know, soy sauce is really salty. Even though I did get the low sodium soy sauce, to me it's still just a little salty. But I did just go ahead and add just a little seasoned salt before starting the browning process. And then also I'm going to add some more crushed red pepper to the pot as well. So we're going to mix that up nicely until it gets brown. Brown, brown, brown some more. Okay, so this looks like it's getting pretty brown. It's brown enough at least. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and add my pot liquor. I'm just going to pour it in slowly. And then I'm just going to allow the ingredients to come to a boil, mix it good, allow it to come to a boil, add some water. I'm going to stir it up good. I'm using a spatula instead of a actual spoon, but that's the closest thing I had to me. So, all right, it looks like I'm adding some more cumin there because I love cumin, as I said before. Cumin. All right, and then I just added a little bit of hot sauce. I didn't add it to the initial pot liquor, but I'm just going to add it now, you know, just for an extra little kick. And then from here, I think we're going to go ahead and stir it up and let everything come to a boil. Once it starts to boiling, then you can go ahead and start adding your cabbage and greens. So just kind of just slowly pack your cabbage and greens. The pot I used, it wasn't small, like a medium-sized pot. But the thing is that I had more greens than the pot size. So what I had to do was to put some in, allow it to cook down a little bit, and then I added the rest of the greens and cabbage to it. But it's going to come to a boil in just a few moments. As you see, it's boiling now. We're going to add a little bit more water. Now we're going to slowly start putting our greens and cabbage in. Slowly put them in. Slowly put them in. Adding more. And more. And more. A little bit more. I tried to fill it up as much as possible. But again, like I said, I let it cook down a little bit, and then I went back and stirred it up and added the rest of the greens and cabbage. Yeah, I think that's about it. Okay, so now I'm adding some onion powder. We're going to add some more garlic powder. And I'm kind of moving the greens around in the pot. I'm just going to let it cook down, like I said, and with the top on. And then I'm going to come back later and add some more greens and stir them around. Okay, so now our greens have cooked down some, and I'm trying to just stir all the ingredients around. I did add the other greens to the pot now that it's cooked down just a little bit. And I'm just stirring it around to make sure all the ingredients are well mixed with the greens. We're just stirring it around and around and around. And around. Give it a good stir. Look at that pot liquor. It's so good and juicy. And it had the house smelling so good. All those ingredients mixed together. It smells so good together. The cumin and the onion powder and the garlic powder and the crushed red pepper. All that smells so, so, so good together. So we got that mixed in pretty good. And then we're just going to put our lid back on, and we're just going to go ahead and let it continue to cook slowly. Okay, so this is our finished product. Meatless greens and cabbage. Look at that. All those hearty flavors. We got the cumin, the paprika, smoked paprika, garlic, onion powder, crushed red pepper, all blended together. Yeah, that's our finished product. Meatless, cabbage, and greens.